Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I feel really bad doing this. I seriously, this is the second time I'm trying to film this video. The first one was so awkward. This is the first negative review that I'm putting out on my YouTube channel. Spoiler alert, I know. But there's gonna be some awkwardness in this video because as funny as it may be, in real life, when I'm talking with my friends and my family, I love to just like really tear into products and I love to go, oh, no, that's not it. I don't like that. This is much better. But when it comes to actually making a YouTube video, because I've had an overwhelming amount of like positive reviews to give to many things, something about this feels just a little more sticky and gross to me, especially because when it comes to making a Korean textbook system, I know that this must have been so difficult. It must have taken a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to go into something like this. And so I don't want this to be like a character assassination of Yonsei and the people that made this textbook system, because I know that they must have worked really hard. Honestly, I don't think it worked. I don't think it worked. I was very unimpressed with this system. So you'll notice that here I have the system 6-1. And that is because this is the only system that I've actually used to study with. Why? When I graduated the Language Institute here in South Korea, they opened up an additional class for people who had actually already graduated if they wanted to maintain their Korean and sort of study a little more advanced topics. This was the textbook system that our teacher chose for us. And as mentioned before, it's the Yonsei Hangugo or Yonsei University Korean system. I did, before making this video, do my research on what the other textbooks look like in the system. And while I do think that if you're a beginner, starting off with levels 1 and 2 are okay, I still wouldn't really recommend them. There is somewhat of a divide between the first 3 systems and the more advanced last 4 systems that, we can talk about. However, the review that I'm going to be giving is, it really does apply to all of the textbooks in the system. So the first thing that I want to talk about, and if you've watched other reviews on this channel, you know that I am a stickler when it comes to paper. This has got to be the worst paper in any textbook I have ever used. It just feels so cheap and plasticky. I had pens, highlighters, and pencils just go right through these pages. I cannot tell you how many times I tore into the pages of this book. The sad thing, too, is that the workbook and the textbook have the same paper, which really baffles me because you'd think a workbook would have really nice papery paper and not that plasticky textbook paper, but no, I was wrong. And it made writing in these textbooks, highlighting, jotting down notes, an absolute nightmare. So much so that even just looking at these books as they sit in front of me right now is like filling me with just frustration already. So that was my introduction to using these textbooks. And then the next big thing is the layout and the content of these books feel so disjointed. For example, when you start a new chapter, you're going to be given, of course, content, you get your vocab, and you get your grammar. But what frustrated me so much is that you're given an example and no explanation. Those you find at the end of the chapter. So when I was studying and when we were in class, I found myself reaching for my phone and having to flip to the back of every chapter for explanations on the vocabulary and the grammar. So it added an additional step to studying that doesn't seem like much when I'm saying it right now, but when you're in a classroom and when you're studying at home, having to find the end of the chapter, and you'll even notice that I've put little tabs when I was studying in the book, because I'd have to flip to the end of these chapters to actually get the explanations for what I was studying. Like, it was just so counterproductive. It was just not intuitive whatsoever that it really, it just annoyed me. It really annoyed me. Not only that, but I found the actual, and I'm sorry, I gotta backtrack really here. It was not just me, okay? The other students in class noted that they found the content in these textbooks to be extremely difficult. Now, I am not unfamiliar to difficult content and that studying Korean is very difficult, but I had some really, really talented Korean learners in class with me, and even they were struggling to understand the content in level 6. It was so difficult, and to make it even worse, the content was so boring. It was so boring. Oh my god. I'll give it to, here, let me grab, I've honestly got to give it to Seoul 대한국어, Seoul National University Korean for somehow finding ways to make studying high-level Korean interesting, but they did it. They did it. They even have some like slightly controversial topics in this textbook that I did think were quite interesting and made for some really lively debates and conversations in class. And it's really a shame that with this system, they really seem to be lacking that excitement. It was the same thing with the listening. I really didn't care for the delivery. I found all the listening to be not only extremely boring, but the content to be really difficult. If you really want to give this system a try, I don't think that the first few levels are horrible. I think that they're really lacking in content. I mean, take a look at just how thin these are. The big thing that I noticed with the first few textbooks was, okay, they're set up a little bit better, they're a little more intuitive, but where are the examples? Where is the content? They were so thin and so flimsy that it really just seemed like everything was being rushed and that there wasn't enough content for people to truly wrap their head around what they were studying. And that's really where I think that Yonsei needs to step it up. They need to step it up in the content department and create a better layout for people who are studying Korean. Ugh, it breaks my heart because the system is not really that expensive and it comes from a really reputable university. But unfortunately, this just isn't it. This really is not it. This is, I have used some bad Korean textbook systems in my life, and this is by far the worst. If you want to study Korean from the ground up, Sue and Carrots makes a phenomenal system. They are, of course, a partner of this channel because I love them and stand by them, but also Sue is a genius. And if you really want to up your Korean and you want to get a good TOPIK score and you're serious about living in Korea, working in Korea, Seoul 대한국어, Seoul National University Korean, it's amazing. There's very little that I can complain about when it comes to this system. And then, of course, maybe you just want to have some fun. Maybe you want to try remembering some Korean. You want to stay engaged with what you've learned. Korean Grammar and Use. Great textbook. Beginner, intermediate, and advanced. There are only 3 of them. They're very inexpensive. I think you can get the whole set for like 60 bucks. This is great. I continue to love this. I continue to go back to beginner because they do such a great job laying out grammar, how all of the similar grammar points in Korean can be used depending on the context, the situation, and the nuance. This is great. This is great. Moral of the story is you can skip the Yonsei Korean and you can just dive right into another textbook. Don't waste your money. Yonsei, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But no, guys, no. The video's over. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you guys are having a wonderful time. Thank you so much for spending some time with me talking about Korean. If you want to support this channel, you can, of course, like this video, comment, and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, questions, comments, leave them below. I am very active and love to talk with you guys. I hope that the next review I do is better because this was not fun.